There's a certain hooper who managed to break a 41-year-old record and on a bad night. Got ejected in Game 4, came back, and within 6 minutes had everybody right back on the edge of their seat. The scary part, that wasn't even his best game. And according to the data, ain't nobody ever gleamed this nice underneath the bright playoff lights. Before we get to the data, here's the timeline. In Game 1 of the series, Wembanyama scored 11 points, 15 rebounds, and recorded 12 blocks. A historic defensive performance, but the Spurs would still take the L by 2 buckets. Game 2 was 19 points and 15 rebounds. Spurs would win by 38, making a statement. Game 3 was 39 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks. One of the most dominant playoff performances you'll ever see, allowing the Spurs to take the series lead. Game 4, well, things got a little sticky, and I ain't talking Peter Parker. An elbow to Naz Reid would lead to a flagrant 2, causing the 7-foot salamander to slither on out the game. Spurs took the L, leading to a tied series. And if revenge is a dish best served cold, then Game 5 was ice. 27 buckets, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, plus minus 24, and 1 foul. Game 1, historic. Game 2, dominant. Game 3, Hall of Fame level. And then in Game 4, he was gone before halftime. The ejection is important because Minnesota had been doing something to him that nobody was really talking about. Wemby was getting bullied almost every single play. Shoves, jersey grabs, you name it. His own coach said it publicly. Every single play on every single part of the floor, people are trying to impose their physicality on him. So the young buck snapped, earning his first career ejection, allowing Minnesota to tie the series. And then Game 5 happened. And there's something about that stat line that stands out that shouldn't be possible for a 7'4" guy who's that dominant on defense. But we'll come back to that. Now look, I'm sure folk won't say that Wembanyama is just tall, making it easy for him to put up big numbers at the block party, and that it's not impressive. But let's look at the actual numbers. The previous record 10 was held by 3 players: Mark Eaton, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, and Andrew Bynum. All Hall of Famers and some of the greatest rim protectors of all time. The record stood for 41 years and Wemby broke it with 12, becoming one of only 3 players to ever record a triple-double with blocks in the playoffs. Hakeem and Bynum were both 7 feet tall. But height alone doesn't get you on this list. Elite timing, instincts, and recovery speed does. Some of the tallest players in NBA history, Yao Ming and Sean Bradley, never did this. On a night, he shot 5 for 17, one of the worst playoff performances of his playoff career. And his defense didn't take the night off just because his shot wasn't falling. That's the separator. And when a player makes history on a bad game, you should know you're dealing with something different. But here's what doesn't show up in the box score. Remember I said something about that Game 5 stat line shouldn't be possible? 27, 17, 5, 3 blocks, and most importantly, 1 foul. One might believe a 7'4" rim protector worries about foul trouble. But here's where the data gets interesting. This chart plots personal fouls per game on the x-axis and blocks per game on the y-axis. Chet Holmgren and Jared Allen, for instance, average almost 2 blocks a game. And when it comes to fouls, they break about even, averaging about 2 fouls per game. Evan Mobley is on the higher end of that, averaging almost 2 blocks to 3 fouls, meaning he could find himself in foul trouble potentially. Then up towards the top of the chart is Mr. Wembanyama, averaging 4.2 blocks per game and 2.4 fouls per game, almost doubling his block output while also staying in the threshold to keep himself out of foul trouble. Meanwhile, Rudy Gobert, a former defensive MVP, averages more fouls than Wemby and almost a quarter of the blocks. Now it's important to note that Wemby is the primary rim protector on the Spurs, while Allen, Mobley, and Gobert have different responsibilities and assignments. But this chart is showing you something that doesn't normally happen for bigs his size. Most shot blockers foul to block, gambling, reaching, and often accepting the trade-off. Wembanyama doesn't have to. He's long enough to block clean almost every time. And not to mention that research shows that the foul rate has gone up 11%. That kind of spike has only happened 6 times in the last 60 years. So the league has decided to call more fouls and the physicality is up across the board. But somehow Wembanyama's found a way to be the most aggressive rim protector in a playoff run without giving the refs a reason to blow the whistle. But here's the thing about a great defender. Defense alone doesn't win championships. You have to be getting buckets too. Which brings me to this chart. Here's every playoff big who played significant minutes in the postseason. X-axis is blocks per game and Y-axis is points per game. Most of these hoopers live down here, in the bottom left. Guys who are tasked with doing a couple of things well, scoring some, blocking occasionally, but nothing earth-shattering. Now over here is Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. This is where it gets interesting, because these are two of the most respected two-way bigs in the league. Allen averaging just over 12 points and 2 blocks per game, and Mobley 16 points and almost 2 blocks a game. Respectable and solid, exactly what you want from a playoff big. And then there's this dot all the way over yonder, on an island of its own, with 20 points and 4.2 blocks. That's more than double Mobley's blocks, 4 points more per game, and in the same playoffs. The dot doesn't have a neighbor because no big in the playoffs, not one, is doing both at that level simultaneously. Evan Mobley is the closest thing and he's not even in the same quadrant. And he's 22. Recall that stat line from Game 3. 39, 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks. Only 3 players in NBA history have ever done that in a playoff game before him. Shaquille O'Neal 3 times. Hakeem Olajuwon 3 times. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it twice. And look at their ages. Kareem was 30. Hakeem was 28, Shaq, the youngest of the 3, was 23, and Wembanyama did it at 22. In Game 5, he also became the 3rd youngest player in NBA history with 25 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists in a playoff game. Only Magic Johnson at 20 and Luka Doncic at 21 did it younger. History keeps running out of names to put next to his. And if you want to see what happens when teams pay the wrong guy franchise money, we broke down the worst contracts in NBA history. But this is from his 3rd year, and the Spurs haven't won the chip since 2014. But in the playoffs, he's broken an all-time record, joined the Hall of Fame club, and gotten more efficient as the game got harder. The NBA doesn't have a rule for what he is yet, and they might have to write one.